The rancher's hand froze on the blood-soaked cloth. Beneath it, carved into her flesh with a blade, were words that made his stomach turn property of Devil's Creek. The girl's eyes met his hollow broken, waiting for him to walk away like every other man had. But Jacob Miller didn't walk away. He'd buried one woman he loved. He wouldn't bury another stranger's cruelty. What he didn't know, saving her would cost him everything. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button and stick with us until the end of this story. Drop a comment telling us what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this tale travels. Now let's dive in. Jacob Miller's hands were shaking, not from fear, not from the whiskey he'd stopped drinking 3 years ago when Sarah died. They shook because he'd just fired a shot that missed, and the girl lying in the weeds between the headstones had flinched so hard she'd stopped breathing. "Easy," he said, kept his voice low. "I'm not shooting at you." Her eyes cracked open, brown, almost black, pupils blown wide with terror. "Then who?" Her voice came out like gravel scraped across tin. "Coyote." Jacob lowered the rifle, scanned the cemetery one more time. "Big one. Been stalking around here for days." Lie. But she didn't need to know he'd fired into the air just to see if she was alive or dead. She tried to sit up, couldn't. Her arm gave out and she collapsed back into the dirt with a sound that made Jacob's chest tighten. "Stay down," he said. "You're hurt." "I'm fine. You're half dead. Then let me finish the job." Jacob knelt, slow, kept his hands where she could see them. Up close, she looked worse. Her skin had that gray color people got right before they gave up. Lips cracked and bleeding, hair matted with dirt and what looked like dried blood, and that cloth torn filthy wrapped around her torso like it was the only thing holding her together. "What's your name?" She stared at him, didn't answer. "Mine's Jacob Miller. I own the ranch 2 miles west of here." He gestured toward the horizon. "I come here twice a week to talk to my wife. She's buried right over there. Fever took her 3 years back." Still nothing, just those eyes watching him like he was a snake coiling to strike. "I can help you," Jacob said, "but I need to know, you're gonna let me." "Why?" The word came out bitter. "So you can finish what they started." Jacob felt something cold drop into his stomach. "Who's they?" She laughed, dry, cracked like a bone breaking. "Does it matter?" "It matters to me." "Why you gonna ride out and avenge my honor?" Her mouth twisted. "I don't have any honor left." They took it, 3 days of taking it over and over until there was nothing left but this. She clutched the cloth tighter. "So go ahead, take your turn. At least you'll bury me after." Jacob stood, walked 5 paces away, turned his back, breathed hard through his nose until the rage settled somewhere he could control it. When he turned back, she was watching him with something that might have been surprise. "I'm not them," he said, "and I'm not leaving you here to die, so you got 2 choices. You can take my hand and let me get you somewhere safe, or you can stay here and let the coyotes finish what those bastards started. Your call." Silence. Long enough that Jacob thought she'd picked option 2. Then her hand moved, slow, shaking, reached toward him. Jacob pulled her up. She weighed nothing, light as a child, all bone and terror. When she stood, she swayed and would have fallen if he hadn't caught her. "Can you ride?" "I can barely stand." "Then hold on to me." He lifted her onto his horse first. She gasped when her weight shifted, clutching that cloth like it was made of gold instead of rags. Jacob mounted behind her and wrapped one arm around her waist to keep her upright. She went rigid, every muscle locked. "I'm just keeping you from falling," Jacob said quietly. "That's all." Her breathing came fast, shallow, but after a moment she leaned back just slightly against his chest. They rode. The sun climbed. Sweat dripped into Jacob's eyes. The girl Eliza, he reminded himself, though she hadn't told him her name yet, slumped more with each passing minute. "Stay awake," he said. "Why? Because if you fall asleep, you might not wake up." "Good." "Not good. Not on my watch." A long pause, then, Why do you care? Jacob didn't answer right away. Truth was, he wasn't sure. Maybe because Sarah had died and he hadn't been able to save her. Maybe because this girl reminded him of something he'd lost when he buried his wife, the belief that some people still deserve saving. Or maybe he was just tired of being alone. I don't know, he said finally, but I do. They reached the ranch just as the girl passed out. Jacob carried her inside and laid her on the bed, the same bed where Sarah had died, sheets still smelling faintly of lavender soap. He fetched water, clean cloths, whiskey for pain and carbolic acid for wounds. When he came back, the girl's eyes were open again, tracking his every move. I need to look at what's under that cloth, Jacob said. No. You'll die if I don't clean those wounds. Then I'll die. Jacob set the supplies on the table, sat down on the edge of the bed. Listen to me. I was a field medic in the Indian Wars. I've seen men with their guts hanging out, boys with half their faces blown off, children with arrows through their lungs. Whatever's under that cloth, I've seen worse. And whatever you think it makes you, you're wrong. So I'm asking, will you let me help you? Eliza stared at him. Her jaw worked like she was chewing glass. If you look at me different if you touch me like they did, I'll kill you. I'll wait until you're asleep, and I'll put a knife through your throat. Fair enough? Jacob turned away while she peeled the cloth back. Heard her breath hitch. Heard her sob once, quick and sharp, like she'd been punched. When he turned back, he understood why. Property of Devil's Creek, carved across her chest in letters 2 inches high, deep, still oozing. The skin around them swollen and angry red. Below that burns, cigarette burns, perfect circles dotting her ribs, and bruises, handprints on her arms, bite marks on her shoulders, fingerprints around her throat. Jacob felt his vision narrow, felt his hands curl into fists. Say it, Eliza whispered. Say I'm ruined. Say I'm dirty. Say whatever you're thinking. Jacob forced his hands to unclench, forced his voice steady. I'm thinking whoever did this is gonna die screaming. Eliza blinked. What? You heard me. Jacob picked up the cloth and dipped it in hot water. Now hold still. This is gonna hurt. It did hurt. She bit down on a leather strap to keep from screaming, but tears streamed down her face when he cleaned the wounds. The carbolic acid made her whole body convulse. Jacob worked fast, efficient, trying not to think about the men who'd done this, trying not to imagine their faces, failing. When he finished, he wrapped clean bandages around her torso and pulled a blanket up to her chin. You're safe now, he said. Eliza laughed, bitter, broken. Nobody's safe. They'll come back. They always come back for what's theirs. You're not theirs. They carved their name into my skin. What do you call that? Assault, torture, evil. Jacob stood, walked to the gun cabinet, pulled out his Winchester, and checked the chamber. But not ownership. You can't own a person. Tell them that. I will, right before I kill them. Jacob set the rifle by the door, pulled out his Colt revolver and laid it on the table. Eliza watched him with something between fear and hope. How many? Jacob asked. What? How many of them? Eliza swallowed hard. 4, Cutter and his boys. Cutter. Jacob knew that name. Everyone knew it. Devil's Creek Gang, robbers, murderers, rapists. They operated along the border, burning homesteads and killing families. Federal marshals had been hunting them for 2 years. What's he look like? Tall, scar across his left eye, missing 2 fingers on his right hand. Eliza's voice dropped to a whisper. He's the one who carved me, held the knife himself, said every man who saw me would know I was Devil's Creek property, that I was branded like cattle. Jacob's jaw locked so tight his teeth hurt. Where'd they dump you? The cemetery. Said it was fitting, that I was dead anyway, just didn't know it yet. They were wrong. Were they? Eliza's eyes filled with tears. Look at me. I'm not clean anymore. I'm ruined, used up, worthless. Jacob sat back down on the edge of the bed, looked her straight in the eye. My wife Sarah, before the fever took her, she got real sick, lost control of herself. I had to clean her dress, hold her when she cried because she was so ashamed. You know what she said to me one night?" Eliza shook her head. She said, "I'm not clean anymore. I'm disgusting." And you know what I told her? What? I told her that being hurt doesn't make you dirty, that shame belongs to the people who caused the hurt, not the people who survived it. Jacob reached out slow, careful, and laid his hand over hers. "You survived, Eliza. That makes you the strongest person I've met in 3 years. Don't let those bastards take that from you, too." Eliza stared at their hands, hers small and pale under his calloused fingers. "Why are you being kind to me?" "Because kindness is free, and because someone should have been kind to you a long time ago." For the first time since he'd found her, Eliza's face crumpled. She cried great heaving sobs that shook her whole body. Jacob sat there and held her hand until she cried herself to sleep. Then he walked outside, sat on the porch with his rifle, and waited. Morning came cold. Jacob woke slumped against the porch post, rifle still across his lap. His back screamed. His shoulder, where he'd taken a Sioux arrow back in '76, throbbed like a rotten tooth. Inside he heard movement, careful footsteps, the creak of floorboards. He stood stretched, walked inside. Eliza was at the table wearing one of Sarah's old dresses. It hung loose on her frame. The bandages bulged under the fabric. She'd tried to comb her hair with her fingers. It hung in damp tangles past her shoulders. "You should be resting," Jacob said. "I slept enough." She looked at the stove. "I tried to make coffee. Couldn't figure out your pot." Jacob crossed the room and started the fire, put the pot on, measured grounds with practiced ease. "You don't have to do anything, just heal." "I need to do something. I'll go crazy just lying there." "Then sit, we'll eat." He made eggs and bacon, strong coffee, set a plate in front of her and watched as she picked up the fork. Her hand shook so badly the eggs slid off. She stared at them on the table, then at her trembling fingers. "I can't even feed myself," she whispered. Jacob reached across the table, slow, deliberate. "Then I'll help you." Eliza's head snapped up. "I'm not a child." "Didn't say you were. But you've been through hell, and hell takes time to walk back from. No shame in needing help." She stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. Jacob cut her food into small pieces. Eliza managed 3 bites before pushing the plate away. "I need to tell you something," she said. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." Her hands clenched into fists on the table. "You need to know what you're protecting." Jacob waited. "My mother died when I was 12. Cholera. My father remarried 6 months later, a woman named Margaret with a son 2 years older than me, Thomas." She spat the name like poison. "Margaret was cold, mean, but Thomas was worse." Her voice went flat, dead. The voice of someone reciting facts about someone else's life. "Started when I was 14. Small things at first. Standing too close, touching my hair, cornering me in the barn. I told my father. He didn't believe me, said I was causing trouble, making Thomas look bad." She laughed bitter. "Then one night Thomas came into my room, drunk. I fought him, screamed. Father came running and blamed me, said I'd tempted him, that I was a Jezebel leading a good Christian boy astray." Jacob's hands clenched under the table. "I ran that night, took nothing but the clothes on my back, worked odd jobs in town, cleaning houses, mending clothes, barely scraped by. Then 2 months ago my stepfather found me, dragged me home, said if I didn't come quietly and apologize to Thomas, he'd tell the sheriff I'd stolen money from him. Out here, that's a hanging offense, or worse." "So you went back." "I went back." Eliza's voice cracked. "And the next morning, a man named Cutter showed up with 3 others. My stepfather sold me to them for $200, said I was payment for a debt, but there was no debt. He just wanted me gone." Jacob felt rage building in his chest, like a fire catching wood. "They kept me in a wagon, used me whenever they wanted, said if I tried to run, they'd cut my throat. Cutter was the worst. He liked," her voice broke, "he liked hurting me. After 3 days, he pulled out his knife, said I needed to be branded, that I was Devil's Creek property now, that every man who saw me would know I belonged to them. And then they dumped you. And then they dumped you, Eliza repeated. Said I was used up, worthless, that I couldn't even earn my keep anymore. They threw me in the cemetery and rode away laughing. Silence filled the room like smoke. I'm gonna kill them, Jacob said quietly. You can't. There's 4 of them. You're one man. Don't care. You should. They'll kill you without thinking twice. Jacob stood, walked to the gun cabinet, checked his rifle, checked his revolver, loaded extra ammunition into his pockets. Then at least I'll die doing something that matters. Jacob, 3 years ago my wife died in that bed while I held her hand and couldn't do a damn thing to save her. I watched her slip away and I was useless, powerless. He turned to face Eliza. I'm not powerless anymore, and I'm not letting those bastards take anyone else. Eliza stared at him. Something shifted in her eyes, something hard and sharp. Then teach me. What? Teach me to shoot, to fight. If they come back, I won't be helpless, not again. Jacob studied her, saw the steel beneath the broken surface. You sure? I'm sure. All right then. He pulled the Colt from the table and handed it to her. Let's start now. They spent the afternoon in the yard. Jacob showed her how to hold the revolver, how to aim, how to breathe before pulling the trigger. Don't jerk it, he said. Squeeze smooth, like you're asking it to fire instead of forcing it. Eliza's first shot went wide. Her second hit dirt 3 feet left of the target. I'm useless, she muttered. You're learning. Try again. Her third shot hit the fence post. Her fourth splintered wood. Better, Jacob said. By sunset, Eliza could hit the target 2 times out of 5. Her hands still shook, but less. Her jaw was set with grim determination. I need to be faster, she said. You need to be accurate first. Speed comes later. They went inside as darkness fell. Jacob made dinner beans and cornbread, nothing fancy. Eliza ate more this time, almost half her plate. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For not treating me like I'm broken. You're not broken. You're hurt. There's a difference. Eliza looked down at her hands. Jacob, there's something else I need to tell you. Jacob waited. Her voice caught. I'm late. My monthly. I'm late. Understanding hit him like a fist. How late? 6 weeks. Jacob closed his eyes, breathed slow. All right. All right. Eliza's voice rose. That's all you have to say. I'm carrying one of their... She couldn't finish. Jacob opened his eyes, looked at her straight on. Doesn't matter whose it is. If there's a child, it's yours. And if you want to keep it, we'll figure it out. You think I'm going to help you this far and then abandon you because you're pregnant? What kind of man do you think I am? Eliza's eyes filled with tears. A good one. Then trust me, we'll handle it, whatever happens. She nodded, wiped her eyes. Okay. They sat in silence as night deepened outside. Jacob's dog, an old mutt named Buck, suddenly lifted his head from the floor. Ears perked. A low growl rumbled in his chest. Jacob's hand moved to his rifle. What is it? Eliza whispered. Don't know. Stay here. He moved to the window, peered through the gap in the boards he'd nailed across earlier. Saw nothing at first, then movement, far out near the cemetery. A shape on horseback silhouetted against the moonlight, watching the house. Jacob grabbed his rifle and moved to the door. Jacob, don't lock this behind me. Don't open it unless you hear my voice. He stepped onto the porch. The night air was cold, sharp, with the smell of sage. Buck followed him, hackles raised, teeth bared. The figure on the horse didn't move. Jacob raised his rifle, aimed. You got 3 seconds to state your business or I'm shooting. Laughter echoed across the prairie, cold, cruel. Found you, little bird. The voice carried like broken glass. You and your new friend, Cutter. Jacob fired. The shot cracked through the night. The horse reared. Cutter laughed again and yanked the reins. Missed! But that's all right. We'll be back. And when we come, we're burning that pretty ranch to the ground. Gonna finish what we started with our property." Then he was gone, hoofbeats fading into darkness. Jacob lowered the rifle, his heart hammered against his ribs. Behind him, the door opened. Eliza stood there, pale as death, the Colt in her shaking hands. "He found me," she whispered. "Yeah," Jacob turned to face her. "He did. You need to let me go before they come back and kill you." Jacob walked toward her, stopped close enough to see the tears streaming down her face. "I'm not letting you go, and I'm not letting them take you. So if they want you, they're gonna have to go through me first. You understand? Why would you do that? I'm nothing. I'm dirty. Jacob reached out and gripped her shoulders, gentle but firm. "Listen to me. You are not nothing. You are not dirty. You are a woman who survived hell, and I'll be damned if I let those bastards drag you back into it. So we're gonna prepare, we're gonna fight, and we're gonna win. You hear me?" Eliza stared at him. Then slowly she nodded. "All right," she said, her voice steadied. "Then we fight. Then we fight." They spent the rest of the night boarding up windows, stacking ammunition, filling buckets with water in case of fire. Jacob showed Eliza how to reload the Colt with shaking hands, how to fire from cover, how to aim for center mass because headshots were for sharpshooters, and they weren't sharpshooters. As dawn broke, they stood together on the porch, watching the horizon. "How long do we have?" Eliza asked. "Don't know. Could be today, could be next week." "I'm scared." "Me too." Eliza looked at him. "If we don't make it, we will. But if we don't, thank you for seeing me as more than what they made me." Jacob squeezed her hand. "Thank you for giving me something to fight for again." The sun climbed, birds sang, the prairie stretched endlessly in every direction, and somewhere in the distance 4 men were saddling their horses, loading their guns and riding toward a ranch where 2 broken people had decided they were done being broken. The war was coming, and Jacob Miller was ready. The wait lasted 2 days. 2 days of Jacob checking his rifle every hour. 2 days of Eliza jumping at every sound, the creak of wood settling Buck's claws on the floor, the wind rattling the boarded windows. 2 days of barely sleeping, barely eating, barely breathing. On the 3rd morning, Jacob woke to find Eliza already up, standing at the window with the Colt in her hand. "Anything?" he asked. "No, but they're coming. I can feel it." Jacob didn't argue. He felt it too, that crawling sensation on the back of his neck, the way Buck kept pacing, whining low in his throat, the unnatural quiet that had settled over the prairie like a held breath. He made coffee, strong enough to strip paint. They drank it standing up, watching the horizon through gaps in the boards. "Tell me about your wife," Eliza said suddenly. Jacob glanced at her. "Why?" "Because if we die today, I want to know something good first." Jacob took another sip of coffee, let the heat burn down his throat. Her name was Sarah Chen. Her parents came over from China to work the railroads. She was born in a work camp, grew up speaking 2 languages, could outwork any man I ever met. He smiled despite everything. Stubborn as a mule, smart as a whip. First time I saw her, she was shoeing a horse and cussing it out in Cantonese. I asked if she needed help. She told me to go to hell in 2 languages. Eliza almost smiled. "How'd you win her over?" "Didn't. She won me over. Came back every day for a month just watching her work. Finally, she looked at me and said, 'You gonna stand there like a fool, or you gonna ask me to dinner?' So I did. We were married 3 months later. She sounds wonderful." She was. Jacob's voice went rough. "Fever took her in 4 days. One morning she was fine. By evening she was burning up. I rode 20 miles for a doctor. By the time we got back, she couldn't recognize me anymore. She died the next morning calling for her mother in Cantonese. I didn't understand what she was saying. Still don't." Eliza reached over and took his hand. "I'm sorry." "Me too." Jacob squeezed back. "But she taught me something before she died. She said pain is just love with nowhere to go. That grief means you loved someone enough to hurt when they're gone. So I figure if I'm gonna hurt anyway, might as well hurt for something that matters. Is that what I am? Something that matters?" Jacob looked at her. Really looked. Saw the scared girl from the cemetery, yes, but also something else. Something harder. Steel forged in fire. Yeah, he said. You are. Eliza opened her mouth to respond. Buck erupted into barking. Jacob dropped his coffee cup. It shattered on the floor. He grabbed his Winchester and moved to the window. 4 riders crested the hill near the cemetery. They're here, Jacob said. Eliza's face went white. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh. Eliza, Jacob's voice cut through her panic. Look at me. She did. Her eyes were wild pupils blown. You remember what I taught you? Yes. Aim center mass. Squeeze, don't jerk. Breathe before firing. Good. Now get behind the table. Flip it on its side. That's your cover. You don't come out unless I say so, or unless one of them gets past me. Understand? Jacob, you can't fight 4 men alone. I'm not alone. I've got you. He pressed the Colt into her hands. Now get behind that table and don't you dare die on me. We didn't come this far for you to die now. Eliza nodded, her jaw set. She moved to the table and flipped it with strength that surprised them both. Crouched behind it, aimed the Colt at the door. Jacob took position at the window. Watched the riders approach. Slow, confident. Men who'd never met real resistance before. Cutter rode in front. Tall, scar across his left eye, just like Eliza had said. Even from this distance, Jacob could see the cruel smile on his face. They stopped 50 yards out. Jacob Miller, Cutter's voice carried across the prairie. We're here for our property. Send her out and we'll ride away peaceful. Like hell, Jacob shouted back. Cutter laughed. You really want to die for used goods? She ain't worth it, friend. We had her 3 days, wore her out good. She's damaged merchandise now. Jacob's finger tightened on the trigger. Behind him, he heard Eliza's breathing go ragged. You got 3 seconds to turn around, Jacob yelled, or I start shooting. Big words for one man. Cutter gestured to his boys. There's 4 of us. You really think you can? Jacob fired. The shot took Cutter's hat clean off his head. Silence. Then Cutter's laughter, sharp and angry. Wrong move, friend. Boys, burn it down. 2 riders broke left. 1 broke right. The 4th, younger, maybe 19, pulled out a torch, already burning. Jacob tracked the rider coming at the door, fired. The shot hit the man's shoulder. He screamed and dropped from his saddle, clutching the wound. 1 down, Jacob yelled. Glass shattered in the back room. Someone had thrown something through the window. Smoke immediately started curling under the door. They're trying to burn us out, Eliza screamed. Stay down. Jacob ran to the back door, threw it open. A rider was right there, grinning, raising his pistol. Jacob shot him in the chest, point blank. The man flew backward off his horse and didn't move. 2 down, but the young one with the torch was at the side of the house now. Jacob could hear him throwing more fire. The walls were old, dry timber. They'd go up fast. Jacob ran back to the front window, saw Cutter circling, looking for an opening. The 3rd rider, older gray beard, was flanking wide, probably trying to get a shot through the back door. Smoke was filling the cabin now, thick and black. Eliza coughed behind him. We can't stay here, she yelled. I know. When I say run, you run straight for the barn. Don't look back. Don't stop, just run. What about you? I'll be right behind you. Lie. But she didn't need to know that. Jacob waited, watched Cutter circle closer, waited now. He kicked open the front door and fired 3 shots in rapid succession. Cutter's horse reared. Cutter cursed and yanked the reins hard. Run! Jacob screamed. Eliza burst from cover, ran through the door, sprinted across the yard with her dress hiked up and the Colt gripped in both hands. The gray-bearded rider saw her, wheeled his horse around, raised his pistol. Jacob shot him through the throat. The man gurgled and toppled sideways, hitting the ground hard. 3 down, but the young one with the torch appeared from behind the house, saw Eliza running, grinned like a wolf. Got you now, little bird. He spurred his horse, galloped straight at her. Eliza heard the hoofbeats, turned, saw him coming, raised the Colt. Squeeze, don't jerk! Jacob screamed from the porch. Eliza fired. The shot caught the rider in the stomach. He doubled over but didn't fall, kept coming, face twisted with pain and rage. Eliza fired again. This time he fell, crashed into the dirt 10 feet from her, and didn't get up. "4 down," Jacob yelled. "Get to the barn!" But Cutter was riding hard now, riding straight at Jacob, pistol raised, firing wild. Bullets tore through the porch railing. One grazed Jacob's arm. He barely felt it. Jacob aimed, breathed, squeezed, click, empty. "Shit!" Cutter's grin was vicious. "Now you die, you son of a—" A shot cracked from the barn. Cutter jerked in his saddle, looked down at the blood spreading across his shirt, looked up at the barn where Eliza stood in the doorway, the Colt smoking in her shaking hands. You shot me. I'm not your property," Eliza said. Her voice didn't shake. "I'm not anyone's property." She fired again. This time Cutter fell, hit the ground hard. His horse bolted, leaving him sprawled in the dirt. Jacob dropped his empty rifle and ran to him, rolled him over. Cutter was still breathing, barely. Blood bubbled between his lips. You're a dead man," Cutter wheezed. More of us coming. Then I'll kill them too." Cutter tried to laugh, coughed blood instead. She's spoiled goods, damaged, you'll see. The only thing damaged here is you." Jacob stood. "And now you're dead." Cutter's eyes went glassy. His chest stopped moving. Jacob stood there for a moment, breathing hard. His hands were shaking. His arm was bleeding where the bullet had grazed him. Behind him the cabin was burning. Flames licked up the walls, black smoke pouring into the sky. 3 years of memories. Sarah's clothes in the wardrobe. The bed where she'd died. The table they'd shared breakfast at every morning. All burning. "Jacob," Eliza's voice cut through his thoughts. She was running toward him. "Jacob, you're bleeding." "It's just a graze. Let me see." She grabbed his arm, inspected the wound with surprisingly steady hands. "You need bandages." "House is on fire. Bandages are in the house." "Then we'll tear my dress. Come on." She pulled him toward the barn. Jacob let her. His legs felt weak suddenly. Shock, probably, or blood loss, or the weight of 4 dead men lying in his yard. Inside the barn, Eliza sat him down on a hay bale and tore strips from her dress. She had blood on her hands, blood on her face, but her hands didn't shake as she wrapped his arm. "You shot him," Jacob said. "I shot all of them." "No, I mean Cutter. You looked him in the eye and you shot him." Eliza tied off the bandage, met his gaze. He needed to die. "You feel bad about it?" She thought about that. "No. Should I? I don't know. Do you?" "No." Her voice was firm. "He hurt me. He would have hurt other women. He needed to die, and I'm glad I was the one who did it." She paused. "Does that make me a bad person?" "No, it makes you a survivor." Eliza looked down at her bloody hands. "I'm not the same girl you found in the cemetery." "Good. That girl was dying. This one's alive." They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, the cabin collapsed inward with a roar of flames. Sparks flew up into the morning sky. "What now?" Eliza asked. Jacob stood, winced. "Now we bury the bodies before they draw vultures. Then we figure out what to do about the cabin." "You think more are coming," like Cutter said. "Don't know, maybe. Devil's Creek's a big gang, but these 4, they came for revenge, not orders. Might be nobody else knows they're dead yet." "Might be. Yeah, might be." They worked through the afternoon. Jacob dragged the bodies away from the house while Eliza collected weapons and ammunition. 4 pistols, 2 rifles. Enough bullets to hold off an army, or start one. When the sun started setting, they stood together looking at the smoking ruins of the cabin. The stone chimney still stood blackened and alone. Everything else was ash. "I'm sorry," Eliza said quietly. "I'm sorry. They burned your home. I'm sorry about your wife's things. I'm sorry I—" "Stop." Jacob turned to face her. "This wasn't your fault. You didn't ask for any of this. You didn't deserve what they did to you, and you sure as hell didn't deserve to carry guilt for fighting back. But if you just—" "What?" Let them kill you. Let them keep hurting you. Jacob gripped her shoulders. Listen to me. You did nothing wrong. Nothing. You hear me. Eliza's eyes filled with tears. Then why does it feel like everything's my fault? Because that's what trauma does. It lies to you. Makes you think you deserve the pain, that you caused it somehow, but you didn't. They did, and now they're dead, and you're alive, and that's what matters. Eliza collapsed against him, sobbed into his chest. Jacob held her one hand on her back, the other cradling her head. He stared at the ruins of his cabin and felt nothing, not grief, not loss, just nothing. The cabin was just wood. Sarah's things were just things. The past was just the past, and the woman crying in his arms was the present. When Eliza finally pulled back, her eyes were red but clear. What do we do now? Jacob looked around. The barn was still standing. The well was intact. The corral, the smokehouse, the root cellar, all untouched. We rebuild, he said. Not the same cabin, something new, something that's ours, not mine. Ours. Ours. Yeah. Jacob met her eyes. If you want, you can stay. Help me rebuild. We'll work the ranch together, equal partners. You pull your weight, I'll pull mine, and we'll figure out the rest as we go. Why would you do that? Because I'm tired of being alone, and because you need somewhere safe, and because... He stopped, started again. Because I think maybe we're supposed to help each other. You and me, two broken people putting each other back together. Eliza stared at him. You mean that every word? She nodded slowly. Okay, partners. Partners! They shook on it, her hand small in his, both of them covered in blood and ash and smoke. That night they slept in the barn. Jacob took the loft. Eliza made a bed in an empty stall with horse blankets. Buck curled up at her feet, snoring. Jacob lay awake for a long time, listening to Eliza's breathing, even out below him, thinking about Sarah, about the cabin burning, about 4 dead men and the woman who'd killed one of them without hesitation, thinking about the future. Somewhere in the dark, Eliza spoke. Jacob, yeah, thank you. For everything. You already thanked me. I know, but I mean it, really mean it. You saved my life, and not just physically. You saved me from believing I was worthless, that I deserved what happened. You made me feel human again. Jacob climbed down from the loft, sat on the edge of her makeshift bed. You were always human, Eliza. You just forgot for a while. Will you? Her voice caught. Will you stay until I fall asleep? I don't want to be alone right now. I'll stay as long as you need. He sat there in the dark, listening to her breathe. Eventually, her hand found his, held on tight. I'm scared, she whispered. Of what? That they'll come back. That more of them will come. That I'll always be looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next bad thing. Maybe, probably. Jacob squeezed her hand. But you won't face it alone. I promise you that. How can you promise that? Because I'm still here, because I chose to be here, and I don't break my promises. Eliza was quiet for a long moment. Then, I'm pregnant, Jacob, with one of their... I know, you told me, and you still want me to stay. Yeah. Why? Jacob thought about that. About Sarah who couldn't have children. About the emptiness of the cabin after she died. About the girl in the cemetery who'd looked at him like he was her last chance. Because everyone deserves a second chance, he said finally. And because that baby, whoever's it, is biologically, it didn't ask for any of this. It's innocent. And if you want to keep it, I'll help you raise it. As my own. Eliza started crying again, quiet tears that soaked into the blankets. I don't deserve you, she whispered. You don't have to deserve kindness. You just have to accept it. She cried herself to sleep eventually. Jacob sat there until her breathing evened out, until her hand went slack in his. Then he stood, covered her with another blanket, and climbed back to the loft. But he didn't sleep. He lay awake planning. They'd need lumber for a new cabin, supplies from town, He'd have to explain the burned cabin, the dead bodies in shallow graves 50 yards from the ruins. The sheriff would ask questions, might not believe their story, might arrest them both, or might not care. Out here, justice was a loose concept. Self-defense was understood, and Devil's Creek, everyone knew Devil's Creek. Everyone hated them. Jacob would take that chance. Morning came gray and cold. Jacob woke to find Eliza already up feeding the horses. She moved carefully, favoring her ribs where the bandages still wrapped tight. "You should be resting," he said. "I'm tired of resting. I want to work. Your wounds will heal faster if I move. Trust me, I know my own body." Jacob didn't argue. He recognized that stubborn set to her jaw. Recognized it because Sarah had worn the same expression whenever he'd tried to baby her. They ate hardtack and jerky for breakfast, drank water from the well, made plans. "I need to ride into town," Jacob said. "Get supplies, lumber, talk to the sheriff." "I'm coming with you." "Eliza, I'm coming. I won't hide anymore. If people are going to talk, let them talk. I'm not ashamed of surviving." Jacob studied her, saw the steel in her eyes. "All right, but we stick together. Don't talk to anyone without me there." "Deal." They saddled 2 horses, Jacob's gelding and Sarah's mare, untouched in the corral since the day she died. The mare was skittish at first, but Eliza calmed her with soft words and steady hands. "You're good with horses," Jacob observed. "My mother kept a stable. Before she died, she taught me to ride." They rode toward town in silence. The prairie stretched endlessly around them, golden and empty under the morning sun. Overhead hawks circled, grasshoppers scattered from the horses' hooves. Eliza rode with her back straight, her chin up. She'd braided her hair, washed the blood from her hands and face, wore Sarah's dress with the bandages hidden underneath. She looked like a rancher's wife. The thought hit Jacob like a punch. He pushed it away. Town appeared on the horizon an hour later, a single main street, general store, saloon, sheriff's office, church, maybe 200 people total. Everyone would know their business by sunset. They tied their horses outside the general store. Jacob helped Eliza down. She winced but didn't complain. Inside the store was dim and cool, smelled like coffee and sawdust. The shopkeeper, a thin man named Patterson, looked up from his ledger. "Jacob Miller." Patterson's eyes flicked to Eliza, widened slightly. "Been a while. Need supplies. Lumber mostly. Some nails, tar, paper, glass, if you have it. Building something. Rebuilding. Cabin burned down." Patterson's eyes narrowed. "That's so how'd that happen?" "Accident. Knocked over a lantern." Lie. But Patterson didn't need to know the truth. "Uh-huh." Patterson's gaze lingered on Eliza. "Who's your friend?" "My business." "Just asking." "Don't." Patterson raised his hands. All right. No offense meant. Let me see what I've got in stock." He disappeared into the back. Eliza moved closer to Jacob. "He doesn't believe you," she whispered. "Don't care if he believes me, long as he sells me what I need." "What if he tells the sheriff? Then the sheriff comes asking questions, and I tell him the same story. What if he doesn't believe you either?" Jacob looked at her. "Then we deal with that when it happens, one problem at a time." Patterson returned with a list. They negotiated prices. Jacob paid in silver money he'd been saving for 3 years with nothing to spend it on. "I'll have it delivered by end of week," Patterson said. "Appreciate it." They turned to leave. Patterson called after them. "Miller, word of advice, whatever trouble you've got yourself into, be careful. This town don't take kindly to outsiders bringing problems." Jacob stopped, turned slowly. "She's not a problem, and anyone who says different answers to me." "We clear?" Patterson swallowed. Clear." Outside, Eliza was shaking. "He knows something happened." "Maybe, doesn't matter." "What if—" "Stop." Jacob cupped her face in his hands. "Stop borrowing trouble. We handled Cutter. We'll handle whatever comes next. Together. Okay." Eliza nodded. "Okay." They rode back to the ranch in silence. The day had turned hot. Sweat dripped down Jacob's back. His wounded arm throbbed. When they reached the ranch, Jacob stopped his horse, stared at the ruins of the cabin, at the barn standing alone, at the prairie stretching endlessly in every direction. "This is home now," he said. "Not what it was, what it's gonna be." Eliza looked at him. "And what's that?" "Don't know yet, but we'll figure it out." They dismounted, fed the horses, drew water from the well, started planning where the new cabin would go. As the sun set, they sat together on the barn steps, watching the sky turn gold and red. "Jacob," Eliza's voice was soft. "Yeah. When I was in that cemetery waiting to die, I prayed. First time in years. I prayed for someone to find me, to save me, to prove that not all men are monsters." She turned to look at him. "And then you showed up. So either God's listening or I got real lucky. Maybe both." "Maybe," she smiled, small but real. "Either way, I'm glad it was you." Jacob smiled back. "Me too." They sat in comfortable silence as night fell. Two survivors, two fighters, two people who'd looked death in the face and decided to keep living anyway. And somewhere in the dark, Eliza's hand found Jacob's again, held on tight. This time, neither one let go. The lumber arrived 6 days later. Jacob was repairing the corral fence when he heard the wagon creaking up the road. Patterson's boy drove it, a kid named Thomas, maybe 16, with arms like fence posts and a nervous way of looking everywhere except directly at you. "Where you want it, Mr. Miller," Thomas called. "Stack it by the barn." Jacob wiped sweat from his forehead. "Eliza, can you show him where?" Eliza emerged from the barn, hay stuck in her hair. She'd been mucking stalls for the past hour, insisting she needed to earn her keep. Her face was flushed from work, but her eyes were clear, stronger every day. Thomas's gaze flickered to her, then away fast, too fast. Jacob felt something cold settle in his gut. "Problem, son?" "No, sir, no problem." Thomas climbed down and started unloading. Wouldn't look at Eliza at all now. Jacob walked over, stood close enough that Thomas had to acknowledge him. "Something you want to say?" "No, sir." "You sure? Because you're looking at my partner like she's got horns growing out of her head." Thomas's face went red. I didn't mean." "What did Patterson tell you?" "Nothing. Just that you had help now, that's all." "Uh-huh." Jacob crossed his arms. "And what are folks in town saying?" Thomas swallowed hard, looked at his boots. Some folks are saying you took up with a woman of..." He couldn't finish. "A woman of what?" "Mr. Miller, I don't want no trouble." "Then tell me what they're saying." Thomas glanced at Eliza. She stood frozen, her face pale. "They're saying she's damaged goods, that she came from a brothel or worse, that you're keeping her for..." He stopped. "I don't believe it, Mr. Miller. I'm just telling you what folks are saying." Jacob felt rage building, forced it down. "And who started these rumors?" "Don't know. Just what I heard at the saloon." "Your pa know you're drinking at the saloon?" "No, sir, please don't." "Finish unloading, then get out of here. And Thomas," Jacob's voice went hard, "next time someone talks about Miss Thornton, you tell them Jacob Miller said to mind their own damn business. We clear?" "Yes, sir." Thomas worked fast after that. Didn't say another word. When he finished, he climbed back on the wagon and drove away like the devil was chasing him. Eliza stood motionless, staring at the ground. "Eliza, they know." Her voice was flat. "Somehow they know what happened to me. They don't know anything. They're just talking. They called me damaged goods. They're idiots." "They're right." Eliza's hands clenched into fists. "I am damaged. I am..." Jacob grabbed her shoulders. "Stop. Right now. Stop. Why, it's true. Those men, they ruined me. And now everyone knows. Everyone knows I'm..." "You're what? A survivor, a fighter, a woman who killed the man who hurt her." Jacob gave her a small shake. "Because that's what I see. That's what anyone with eyes should see. That's not what they see. Then they're blind. Eliza pulled away from him, wrapped her arms around herself. Maybe I should go, before this gets worse, before your reputation— My reputation, Jacob laughed bitter. I don't give a damn about my reputation, and neither should you. Easy for you to say. You're a man. Men don't carry shame the same way. No, we carry it different. We carry it in the things we didn't undo, the people we didn't save. Jacob's voice went rough. I carry Sarah every day, the way she looked at me when the fever took her, like she was drowning and I was standing on shore watching. I carry every man I patched up in the war who died anyway, every face, every name. That's my shame, and you know what I learned? Eliza looked at him, waiting. Shame only has power if you feed it, if you let it eat you from the inside. But if you look it in the eye and say, I survived, if you own what happened without letting it own you, then shame starves. He stepped closer. You survived, Eliza. You fought back. You killed the man who hurt you. That's not shame, that's strength. Then why does it feel like I'm still dying? Because healing isn't instant. Because wounds take time, but you're not dying. You're living, and every day you wake up and choose to keep living, you win. You beat them. You understand. Eliza's eyes filled with tears. I'm trying so hard to believe that. I know you are. Jacob pulled her into a hug, felt her shake against him. And I'm going to be right here while you figure it out, for as long as it takes. They stood there for a long moment. Then Eliza pulled back, wiping her eyes. What are we going to do about the town? Nothing. Let them talk. Eventually they'll find something new to gossip about. And if they don't, then we deal with it together. Eliza nodded, took a deep breath. Okay, together. They spent the rest of the day working on the cabin foundation. Jacob marked out where the walls would go while Eliza mixed mortar. Hard physical work that left them both exhausted and sore. That night they ate beans and cornbread by lantern light in the barn. Buck lay between them snoring. Outside, coyotes howled in the distance. Can I ask you something? Eliza said. Always. Why didn't you remarry after Sarah died? Jacob chewed slowly, swallowed. Didn't see the point, loved her too much to replace her, and nobody else. He stopped, started again. Nobody else felt right. What about now? What about now? Does anyone feel right now? Jacob looked at her, really looked, saw the question beneath the question, the hope mixed with fear. I think maybe I'm starting to figure out what right means again. Eliza's breath caught. Jacob, I'm not saying I'm not asking for anything. Jacob set down his plate. I just want you to know that you're not a burden. You're not charity. You're someone I look forward to seeing every morning. Someone who makes this place feel less empty. And whatever happens, whether you stay or go, whether we're partners or something else, I'm grateful you're here. Eliza stared at him. Then slowly she smiled. I'm grateful too. They finished eating in comfortable silence. When Eliza climbed into her makeshift bed, Jacob started toward the loft. Jacob, her voice stopped him. Would you stay again just until I fall asleep? Yeah, I'll stay. He sat beside her bed. She reached for his hand. He took it without hesitation this time. Tell me something good, she whispered. About the future, about what you want this place to become. Jacob thought about that. I want it to be a home, not just a ranch, but a place where people feel safe, where kids can grow up without fear, where broken things get fixed instead of thrown away. He squeezed her hand. I want it to be a place where second chances actually mean something. That sounds beautiful. Yeah. Her eyes were already closing. I'd like to help build that. I'd like that too. She fell asleep holding his hand. Jacob sat there until his back ached and his arm went numb. Then he carefully extracted his hand and climbed to the loft, but sleep didn't come. He lay awake thinking about the town, about rumors spreading like wildfire, about the look on Thomas's face when he'd mentioned damaged goods, about the weight of Eliza's hand in his and what it meant that he didn't want to let go. 3 weeks passed. The cabin began to take shape, walls rising from the foundation roof beams stretching across empty sky. Jacob worked from dawn to dusk, his hands blistered and bleeding. Eliza helped where she could, mixing mortar and carrying supplies, though her strength gave out faster than she wanted to admit. Her belly was starting to show, just a small curve barely noticeable under her dress, but Jacob saw it, saw the way she touched it sometimes when she thought he wasn't looking, saw the fear and hope warring in her eyes. One morning she threw up behind the barn. Jacob found her there, pale and shaking. "How long's this been happening?" he asked. 2 days, maybe 3. "You need to eat more." "I can't keep anything down." "Then we'll figure out what you can keep down. Come on." He led her to the well, drew cold water, made her drink it slow. Then he went to the root cellar and brought back ginger root he'd been saving. "Chew this," he said. "My ma used it when she was pregnant with my sister, helped with the sickness." Eliza took it, chewed, made a face. "Tastes awful. Medicine usually does." She kept chewing. After a minute, her color improved. "It's helping a little." "Good. Now come sit down before you fall down." They sat on the barn steps. The morning was cool, the sky clear. Somewhere, a mockingbird was singing, cycling through a dozen different calls. "I'm scared," Eliza said suddenly. "About the baby, about everything. The baby, the town. What happens when I start really showing and people figure out—" She stopped, swallowed hard. "What happens when the baby comes and it doesn't look like you, when everyone knows it's not yours? Then they know, so what? So they'll call me names. They'll call the baby names. They'll do nothing, because I'll make sure of it. You can't fight the whole town. Watch me." Eliza looked at him. "Why are you doing this? Really? There has to be a reason. Nobody's this kind without wanting something back." Jacob was quiet for a long moment. "You want the truth. Always. When Sarah died, I stopped caring about anything. Went through the motions, fed the animals, fixed the fences, kept the ranch running, but inside I was dead. Just didn't know how to stop breathing." He picked up a stick and snapped it in half. "Then I found you in that cemetery. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt something again. Anger at what they did to you. Purpose when I brought you here. Hope when you started getting stronger." He met her eyes. "You gave me a reason to live again, Eliza. So yeah, maybe I am being selfish. Maybe I'm helping you because it helps me, but that doesn't make it wrong." Eliza's eyes were wet. "What if I let you down? What if I'm not? What if I can't be what you need? I'm not asking you to be anything except yourself. That's enough." "How can you be sure? Because I've seen you at your worst, and you're still here, still fighting, still trying. That's all anyone can ask." Eliza wiped her eyes. "You're a good man, Jacob Miller. I'm just a man trying to do better than yesterday." They sat in silence, watching the sun climb higher. Then Eliza spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if I asked you to marry me?" Jacob's head snapped toward her. "What? Not for real. Not because we love each other or anything like that, but legally. So the baby has a name, so people in town stop talking. So I have protection." She couldn't meet his eyes. "I know it's asking too much. I know you don't, that you can't just replace Sarah like that. But I'm running out of options and I'm scared, and I thought maybe—" "Eliza, I'm sorry. Forget I said anything. It was stupid. Eliza, look at me." She did. Her face was red, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "That's not asking too much," Jacob said quietly. "That's asking for safety, for security, for a future. And yeah, I'd have to think about it, because marriage it's not something I take lightly, but I'm not saying no, I'm saying let me think about it. Can you give me that?" Eliza nodded. "How long? About days, maybe a week. I need to make sure I'm doing it for the right reasons." "Okay," she stood. "I'm gonna go feed the chickens." She walked away before he could say anything else. Jacob watched her go, his mind spinning. Marriage, to Eliza, to a woman carrying another man's child, a rapist's child. A woman who'd been through hell and was barely holding herself together. A woman who made him want to wake up in the morning, who made him laugh again, who looked at him like he was worth something. Sarah's voice echoed in his memory. Don't waste your life grieving for me. Promise me you'll live, really live. He'd promised. On her deathbed fever burning through her, he'd promised. And he'd been breaking that promise for 3 years. Jacob stood, walked to the well, drew water and splashed it on his face, made a decision. He found Eliza in the chicken coop scattering feed with mechanical precision. She didn't look at him when he approached. I don't need a few days, he said. She froze. What? I said I don't need a few days. I've made up my mind. Eliza turned slowly. Her face was pale. And yes, I'll marry you, but on one condition. Eliza's breath caught. What condition? We do it right, not some quick ceremony in front of a judge. We do it in the church, with witnesses, with a real preacher saying real vows. Jacob stepped closer. Because if we're going to do this, we're going to do it so nobody questions it, so nobody can say it's not legitimate. So your baby, our baby, has every protection the law can give. Eliza stared at him. Our baby. That's what I said. The moment we say vows, that child becomes mine legally, and I don't do things halfway. So yeah, our baby. Tears streamed down Eliza's face. Why would you do that? Because someone should have protected you a long time ago, and because he stopped, swallowed hard. Because Sarah told me not to waste my life, and marrying you doesn't feel like wasting anything. It feels like starting something new. Eliza closed the distance between them, wrapped her arms around him, buried her face in his chest, and sobbed. Jacob held her, felt her shake, felt his own eyes burn. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Being married to me isn't easy. I'm stubborn and I snore and I don't always remember to take my boots off before coming inside. Eliza laughed through her tears. I think I can handle that. Yeah. They stood there for a long moment. Then Eliza pulled back, wiping her eyes. Soon as possible, before you start showing more. We'll ride into town tomorrow, talk to the preacher, get it done right. What if he refuses? What if he's heard the rumors? Then I'll convince him otherwise. How? Jacob smiled, grim. I can be very persuasive when I need to be. The next morning they rode to town. Eliza wore Sarah's best dress, dark blue calico with white buttons. Jacob had cleaned up as best he could, shaving for the first time in weeks. His jaw felt naked. The church sat at the end of Main Street, small, white-clapboard, a cross on the steeple reaching toward heaven. Inside, Reverend Matthews was arranging hymn books. He was a thin man, maybe 60, with kind eyes and a gentle voice. He looked up when they entered. Jacob Miller, Matthews smiled. Been a while since I've seen you darken this door. Been a while since I had reason to come. And who's this? This is Eliza Thornton, my fiancée. Matthew's eyes widened slightly. Fiancé. Well, that's wonderful news. Congratulations. We'd like to get married soon as possible. I see. And may I ask, how long have you two been courting? Does it matter? Matthews hesitated. Well, normally I like to counsel couples before marriage. Make sure they're ready for the commitment. It's a sacred bond after all. We're ready. Jacob, I don't doubt your intentions, but... Matthews glanced at Eliza. Miss Thornton, are you certain this is what you want? Eliza lifted her chin. Yes, sir, I'm certain. And you understand what marriage means, the vows you'll be taking. I understand. Matthews studied them both. There are rumors in town about Miss Thornton's past, about where she came from. Jacob's jaw tightened. What kind of rumors? The unkind kind. I'm not saying I believe them, mind you, but as a man of God I have to ask, is there anything you two need to confess before I agree to marry you? No, Jacob said flatly. Miss Thornton. Eliza swallowed hard. I was hurt by bad men. They did terrible things to me. Jacob saved me, and now I'm carrying a child, one of their children. but Jacob's agreed to raise it as his own, to give us both a name and a home and protection. Her voice shook but held steady. I'm not a prostitute, Reverend. I'm not a criminal. I'm just a woman trying to survive, and Jacob's given me a chance to do that. So yes, I want to marry him, more than anything. Silence filled the church. Matthews looked between them. His face was unreadable. Then slowly he smiled. That's all I needed to hear. He closed the hymn book he'd been holding. I'll marry you this Sunday, after morning service. That gives me time to post the banns and make it all legal. Sunday's fine, Jacob said, and Miss Thornton, Matthew's voice gentled odd. Whatever happened to you before, it's in the past. In this church, we believe in redemption, in second chances, in starting over, so when you walk through that door on Sunday, you walk in clean, you understand? Eliza's eyes filled with tears. Yes, sir, I understand. Good, now let's discuss the ceremony. They spent an hour going over details. What vows they'd say, what hymns would be sung, who would stand as witnesses. Matthews volunteered his wife and his deacon. When they finally left the church, Eliza was shaking. Are you okay? Jacob asked. I think I'm getting married. She laughed, slightly hysterical. I'm actually getting married. To you. In 3 days. Having second thoughts. No, just overwhelmed. In a good way, I think. She looked at him. Are you having second thoughts? No. You answered that fast. Because I'm sure. How can you be sure? We barely know each other. Jacob stopped walking, turned to face her. I know you're strong. I know you're brave. I know you killed a man to protect yourself and didn't hesitate. I know you work hard even when you're exhausted. I know you're kind to the animals and you've got a sharp mind and you don't give up even when everything's against you. He took her hand. That's enough. The rest we'll figure out as we go. Eliza squeezed his hand. What did I do to deserve you? You survived. That's enough. They rode back to the ranch in silence. The sun was high and hot. Sweat dripped down Jacob's back. Beside him, Eliza sat straight in the saddle, her face thoughtful. Jacob, she said as they approached the barn. Yeah. After we're married, will you want? She couldn't finish. Jacob understood what she was asking. No, I'm not expecting anything from you. Not like that. Not until you're ready. If you're ever ready. This marriage is about protection and partnership. Nothing more, unless you want it to be. What do you want it to be? I want you to feel safe. Everything else can wait. Eliza's shoulders relaxed. Thank you for understanding. Don't have to thank me for basic decency. They dismounted, fed the horses, drew water from the well, went about their evening chores with the comfortable rhythm they'd developed over the past month. That night, Eliza fell asleep holding Jacob's hand again. But this time, when Jacob tried to pull away, she held on tighter. Stay, she murmured, half asleep. Please. So he stayed, sat there all night with his back against the wall and her hand in his, watching her breathe. Watching the way moonlight fell across her face through the barn door, watching her fingers rest on her stomach, where their child, because it was their child, now he'd claimed it grew stronger every day. And for the first time since Sarah died, Jacob felt something that might have been peace. Sunday came clear and cold. Jacob woke before dawn, his body aching from another night sitting up. Eliza was already awake, braiding her hair with shaking hands. You okay? He asked. Nervous. Me too. Really. Getting married it's a big step, even under these circumstances. Eliza finished her braid, looked at him. Do you regret it, asking me, or agreeing when I asked you? No, do you? No. She stood, smoothed her dress. I hope I can be a good wife to you. I don't really know how. My mother died before she could teach me much, and after that, she stopped. I just don't want to disappoint you. Jacob crossed to her, took her hands. You could never disappoint me. Just be yourself, that's all I'm asking. Myself is pretty broken. Then we'll be broken together, and maybe we'll help each other heal. Eliza smiled, small but real. Okay, together. They rode to town in their best clothes. Jacob wore his one good suit, the same one he'd worn to Sarah's funeral. Eliza wore the blue calico dress, freshly washed and pressed. She'd woven wildflowers into her braid. She looked beautiful. The church was half full when they arrived. Curious townspeople had come to witness the scandal, Jacob Miller marrying some strange woman nobody knew. Matthews's wife sat in the front pew, smiling warmly. The deacon stood near the altar, holding a Bible. Jacob felt Eliza tense beside him. "Ignore them," he whispered. "Eyes on me, just me." She nodded, took his arm. They walked down the aisle together. Matthews waited at the altar, wearing his best robes. He smiled as they approached. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the union of Jacob Miller and Eliza Thornton in holy matrimony." The ceremony passed in a blur. Jacob heard himself saying vows, heard Eliza's voice steady and clear, promising to love and honor and cherish, heard Matthews pronounce them husband and wife. "You may kiss the bride." Jacob looked at Eliza, saw the question in her eyes, leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met, brief, chaste, but real. When they pulled apart, Eliza was crying, happy tears this time. "We did it," she whispered. "Yeah," Jacob said, "we did." They signed the register. Matthews's wife hugged them both. The townspeople murmured, some disapproving, some curious, some genuinely happy. Jacob didn't care. He'd married Eliza Thornton. She was his wife now, under the law, under God, under every measure that mattered. And he'd be damned if he let anyone hurt her ever again. They rode back to the ranch as husband and wife. The sun was setting, painting the sky gold and red. Eliza sat close to Jacob on his horse, her head resting against his shoulder. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what? For giving me a future, for giving our baby a name, for everything." Jacob wrapped his arm around her waist, held her close. "You're my wife now. That means your fights are my fights. Your future is my future. Your child is my child, all of it. No exceptions." Eliza turned her head, kissed his cheek. "I'll try to be worthy of that." "You already are." They reached the ranch as darkness fell. Jacob helped Eliza down. She stood there looking at the half-finished cabin, the barn, the empty prairie stretching endlessly around them. "Home," she said softly. "Home." Jacob agreed. Hand in hand they walked toward the barn, toward their makeshift life, toward a future neither of them had planned, but both were willing to fight for. And for the first time in 3 years, Jacob Miller believed in tomorrow again. Marriage changed things in ways Jacob hadn't expected, not the big things. They still slept separately, Eliza in her stall, Jacob in the loft, still worked side by side during the day, still shared meals in comfortable silence. But the small things shifted. The way Eliza said, "our ranch," instead of "your ranch." The way Jacob caught himself thinking "we" instead of "I." The gold band on Eliza's finger that she touched sometimes like she couldn't believe it was real. The way townspeople looked at them different now, not approval exactly, but acknowledgement. Jacob Miller had married the strange woman, made it legal. That counted for something out here. 3 weeks after the wedding, Jacob finished the cabin walls. He was nailing the last board when he heard hoofbeats approaching. Fast, urgent. He grabbed his rifle and climbed down. Eliza emerged from the barn, wiping her hands on her apron. A rider crested the hill, young, maybe 20, riding hard enough to foam his horse. "Jacob Miller," the rider shouted. "That's me." The rider pulled up his horse, heaving. "Sheriff wants to see you, both of you, says it's urgent." Jacob's gut clenched. "About what?" "Didn't say. Just said to bring your wife and come quick." Jacob looked at Eliza, saw his own fear reflected in her eyes. "We'll be right behind you," Jacob said. The rider nodded and turned his horse, cantered back toward town at a slower pace. "What do you think this is about?" Eliza whispered. Don't know, but we're gonna find out." Jacob went to the barn, saddled both horses. "Whatever happens, stay calm. Let me do the talking." Jacob, what if they know about Cutter, about the others? Then we tell them the truth. Self-defense. They came for you, we protected ourselves. That's the law out here. What if they don't believe us? Then we make them believe us. Jacob helped her mount. You're my wife now. That means something. They can't touch you without going through me first. Eliza nodded, but her face stayed pale. They rode to town in tense silence. The sun beat down, sweat soaked Jacob's shirt. His rifle felt heavy across his saddle. The sheriff's office sat next to the jail, a squat building with barred windows. Jacob had been inside once 3 years ago, reporting a stolen horse. Sheriff Coleman was a fair man as lawmen went. Old cavalry, understood frontier justice. But fair didn't always mean lenient. They tied their horses outside. Jacob took Eliza's hand, felt it trembling in his. Whatever happens, he said quietly, we're in this together. Together, she repeated. They walked inside. Sheriff Coleman sat behind his desk reading a telegram. He was a big man, gray-bearded, with eyes that missed nothing. When they entered, he looked up and gestured to 2 chairs. Sit. They sat. Jacob kept hold of Eliza's hand. Got an interesting telegram this morning, Coleman said, from the U.S. Marshal's office in Denver. Seems 4 members of the Devil's Creek gang went missing about a month ago. Last anyone saw them, they were headed this direction. He set down the telegram. You know anything about that? Jacob's mouth went dry. Why would I? Because a rancher 2 miles south of here reported hearing gunshots around that time, and because your cabin mysteriously burned down the same week, and because Coleman's gaze shifted to Eliza. Because the telegram mentioned they might have been looking for a girl they took from her family and used for things I won't say in front of a lady. Silence filled the office. Jacob heard his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. Sheriff, he said carefully, what exactly are you asking me? I'm asking if 4 dead outlaws are buried somewhere on your property, and I'm asking if your wife is the girl they were looking for. More silence. Eliza's hand gripped Jacob so hard, his bones hurt. And if they are, Jacob said finally. Coleman leaned back in his chair. Then I need to know the circumstances, because if this was murder, that's my jurisdiction. But if this was self-defense... He paused. Well, Devil's Creek gang's been terrorizing this territory for years. Federal marshals have been trying to catch them. If 4 of them are dead, that's fewer predators in the world. But I need to know what happened, the truth. Jacob looked at Eliza. She nodded slightly. The truth is this, Jacob said. 5 weeks ago, I found Eliza in the cemetery near my ranch. She'd been beaten, tortured, and left to die by 4 men from Devil's Creek. They'd hurt her, badly. I brought her to my cabin to treat her wounds. Coleman's expression didn't change. Go on. 3 days later, one of them came back. Threatened to burn down my ranch if I didn't hand her over. I fired a warning shot. He rode off. Jacob's voice steadied. But he came back, him and the other 3. They tried to burn us out. We defended ourselves. I killed 3. Eliza killed 1. We buried them in unmarked graves 1/2 mile from the cabin. Which one did she kill? The leader, man named Cutter. Coleman's eyebrows rose. Cutter, you're sure? I'm sure. He's the one who... Jacob stopped, started again. He's the one who hurt her worst, carved his gang's name into her skin. She shot him twice, once in the chest, once in the head. He died in my yard. Coleman turned to Eliza. Ma'am, is that accurate? Eliza's voice came out barely above a whisper. Yes, sir. And you shot him willingly? Nobody forced you. I shot him because he was going to kill Jacob, and because he deserved to die for what he did to me. Coleman studied her for a long moment. Then he pulled out a piece of paper and began writing. I'm going to need you to sign a statement, both of you, detailing exactly what happened. Then I'm going to need to see the graves. Why? Jacob asked. Because I need to confirm it's them. Federal marshals are offering a reward for Devil's Creek gang members dead or alive. $500 per man, that's $2,000 total. He looked up. Money like that could finish your cabin. Buy livestock, set you up proper. Jacob blinked. You're not arresting us. For what, defending yourselves against known criminals? Hell, I'd give you a medal if I had one. Coleman resumed writing. But I need documentation. Need to make sure this is clean. Can't have vigilante justice running wild, even against scum like Devil's Creek. Relief flooded through Jacob so intense it made him dizzy. We'll sign whatever you need. Good. Write down everything that happened. Don't leave anything out. Be honest. If this was self-defense, and from what you've told me it was, then you got nothing to worry about. They spent the next 2 hours writing statements. Jacob's hand cramped from holding the pen. Beside him, Eliza wrote slowly, her handwriting careful and neat. When she got to the part about what Cutter had done to her, her hand shook so badly the words blurred. Jacob reached over, covered her hand with his. You don't have to write the details. Just say he assaulted you. That's enough. The sheriff said don't leave anything out. The sheriff also said in front of a lady, which means he knows some things don't need spelling out. Eliza looked at Coleman. Is that true? Coleman nodded. Just write that you were assaulted and tortured by the deceased. That's sufficient for the record. Eliza's shoulders sagged with relief. She finished her statement quickly after that. When they were done, Coleman read both documents carefully. Then he looked up. This'll do. Now show me the graves. They rode back to the ranch, the three of them plus Coleman's deputy, a thin man named Harrison who hadn't said 2 words. Jacob led them to the unmarked graves 1/2 mile from the cabin ruins. Here, Jacob said. Coleman dismounted, studied the ground. You buried them deep. Didn't want animals digging them up. Smart. Coleman pulled out a shovel from his saddle. Harrison, help me. You're digging them up. Eliza's voice rose. Why? Need to confirm identity. Devil's Creek members are known for distinctive features. Cutter had a scar. Another one fellow named Briggs had a tattoo on his forearm. Need to verify we've got the right bodies. Jacob felt sick watching them dig. The smell hit first. Even a month buried death had a smell you never forgot. Then the bodies emerged wrapped in canvas he'd used to cover them. Coleman pulled back the canvas on the first one. The face was decomposed, but the scar across the left eye was unmistakable. That's Cutter. He moved to the second body, checked the forearm. Briggs. Third body. Wade. Fourth body. Young Tommy. He stood wiping his hands on his pants. That's all 4. Devil's Creek's second in command and his best men. You 2 did the territory a service. Didn't do it for the territory, Jacob said. Did it to survive. Motive doesn't change results. Coleman gestured to Harrison. Cover them back up. I've seen enough. Harrison shoveled dirt while Coleman walked back to his horse, pulled out a leather pouch, counted out bills. $2,000, he said, handing the money to Jacob. Reward money. Federal marshals will be pleased to know Devil's Creek's been cut down. Main gang still out there somewhere, but these 4 were the worst of them. Jacob stared at the money. More cash than he'd seen in 5 years. I can't. This feels wrong. Like we're profiting from killing. You're profiting from justice. There's a difference. Coleman mounted his horse. Buy your wife something nice. Finish your cabin. Live your lives. And if anyone gives you trouble about any of this, you send them to me. We clear. Clear. Coleman tipped his hat to Eliza. Ma'am, I'm sorry for what those men did to you. No woman deserves that. But I'm glad you had the strength to fight back. Not many could have done what you did. Eliza's eyes welled up. Thank you, Sheriff. Don't thank me. Just take care of each other. God knows this territory's hard enough without folks making it harder. He rode away, Harrison trailing behind. Jacob and Eliza stood there holding $2,000 and watching the dust settle. We're really not in trouble, Eliza said finally. We're really not in trouble. And they're really giving us money for killing them. Apparently. Eliza started laughing, hysterical, relieved laughter. that turned into sobs halfway through. Jacob wrapped his arms around her and let her cry it out. "It's over," she gasped between sobs. "It's really over. They're dead and we're alive and nobody's coming for us and it's over." "It's over," Jacob agreed. He held her tight, felt her shake against him. "You're safe now, I promise." When she finally calmed down, they rode back to the ranch in silence. The money felt heavy in Jacob's saddlebag. $2,000, enough to change their lives. That night they sat in the barn counting it. Eliza kept touching the bills like they might disappear. "What should we do with it?" she asked. "Finish the cabin first, then buy livestock, maybe hire help for the heavy work." Jacob looked at her. "What do you want?" "I want—" Eliza stopped, started again. "I want our baby to grow up in a real house, with real walls and a real roof. I want them to have toys and books and good food. I want them to never know hunger or fear or any of what I knew." "Then that's what we'll do. All of it, all of it." Eliza's hand moved to her belly. She was showing more now, a definite curve that couldn't be hidden much longer. "Do you ever think about it, the baby, all the time?" "What do you think about?" Jacob chose his words carefully. "I think about teaching them to ride, to shoot, to work the land. I think about watching them grow up strong and safe. I think about—" He stopped. "I think about being the father they deserve, the father I never had. Your father was bad. My father was a drunk who beat my mother and disappeared when I was 10, left us with nothing. Ma worked herself to death trying to feed me and my sister, died when I was 15. Jacob's voice went rough. "I promised myself I'd never be like him, that if I ever had kids, I'd be the heir, I'd protect them, He couldn't finish. Eliza took his hand. "You'll be a good father, Jacob. I know you will." "How can you know that?" "Because you're a good man, and good men make good fathers." Jacob squeezed her hand. "I hope you're right." They sat in comfortable silence. Outside, Buck barked at something in the darkness, probably a rabbit or a coyote passing through. "Jacob," Eliza's voice was hesitant, "can I ask you something? Always. Do you ever regret marrying me?" Jacob turned to look at her. "Where's this coming from?" I know this isn't what you wanted. I know you married me out of duty, not love. And I'm grateful I am, but sometimes I wonder if you wish things were different, if you could have married someone you actually loved." "I did love someone once," Jacob said quietly. "Loved her with everything I had, and when she died I thought that was it, thought I'd used up my capacity for that kind of feeling, but then I found you. And yeah, what we have isn't what I had with Sarah. It's different, quieter, built on necessity instead of passion." He met her eyes. "But it's real, and it's growing, and I don't regret it." "Not for a second." Really, do you regret it?" Eliza shook her head. "No, never. You saved my life, Jacob, in every way a person can be saved. I want to make sure I'm not a burden, that you don't resent me." "You're not a burden. You're my wife, and you're carrying my child. That's not burden, that's purpose." Eliza's eyes filled with tears. Again, she'd been crying so easily lately, probably the baby. "I don't deserve you," she whispered. "You keep saying that, and I keep telling you you're wrong." Jacob pulled her close. "Now stop crying before you dehydrate yourself. You're growing a whole human. You need all the water you can get." Eliza laughed through her tears. "You're ridiculous." "Yeah, well, you married me anyway." "Guess I did." She fell asleep in his arms that night. Not in her stall with him sitting beside her, but actually in his arms, her head on his chest, his hand on her belly. Jacob lay awake, feeling the slight movement under his palm, the baby shifting, growing, living. His child, not by blood, but by choice, and that mattered more. The next few months passed in a blur of work. Jacob used the reward money to hire help, 3 men from town who asked no questions and worked hard. The cabin went up fast after that. Walls, roof, windows, doors, a stone fireplace big enough to heat the whole space, a loft for storage, and maybe someday for children to sleep in. Eliza worked alongside them when she could, though Jacob made her rest when she got tired. Her belly grew steadily. By November, she was 6 months along and couldn't hide it anymore. The town noticed. Of course they noticed. Started counting months on their fingers, whispering. Jacob heard the whispers at the general store one day. Patterson's wife talking to another woman, not bothering to lower her voice. That baby can't be his. They've only been married 4 months. Unless they, before the wedding. Well, what did you expect? A woman like that damaged goods. She probably trapped him. Jacob set down the nails he'd been buying, walked over to where the women stood. "Excuse me, ladies." They turned, saw his face, went pale. "My wife is a good woman who survived something you couldn't imagine, and if I hear either of you spreading lies about her again, I'll make sure your husbands know exactly what kind of Christian charity you practice. We clear?" "Mr. Miller, we didn't mean—" "I don't care what you meant. I care what you said, and what you said was cruel and wrong, so keep my wife's name out of your mouth. Both of you." He paid for his supplies and left. Rode home, angry hands shaking on the reins. Eliza was sitting on the porch of their new cabin, finally finished knitting something small. Baby clothes, Jacob realized. She looked up when he approached, saw his face. "What happened?" "Nothing." "Jacob." He dismounted, told her what he'd heard, watched her face close up. "They're right, though," she said quietly. "The baby isn't yours." "Not really." "The baby is mine. I claimed it. That makes it mine." "But they know the truth. They can count." "I don't care what they know. I care what's legal. And legally that baby is Jacob Miller's child. Anyone who says different can answer to me." Eliza set down her knitting. "You can't fight everyone who talks. Watch me." "Jacob, no, listen to me." He knelt in front of her, took her hands. "I chose this. I chose you. I chose this baby, and I'm not letting anyone make you feel less than because some people can't mind their own business. You're my wife. That baby is my child, and anyone who has a problem with that can go to hell." Eliza's eyes welled up. "Why are you so good to me?" "Because you deserve it, and because I love you." The words were out before he could stop them, hung in the air between them like something alive. Eliza stared at him. "What?" Jacob swallowed hard. "I said I love you. Not the way I loved Sarah. That was different. But this, what we have, it's real. And it's strong. And somewhere between finding you, in that cemetery, and now I fell in love with you. So there it is. I love you." Tears streamed down Eliza's face. "I love you too. I've loved you since you stayed with me that first night in the barn. Since you looked at me like I was worth saving. I didn't think I was allowed to say it. You're allowed to say anything you want." Eliza pulled him close, kissed him. Not the chaste kiss from their wedding, but something real, something that tasted like salt from her tears and felt like coming home. When they pulled apart, Jacob was breathing hard. "Was that okay?" "That was more than okay." "Good, because I'd like to do it again." Eliza laughed. "Then do it again." He did. And this time when they pulled apart, Eliza was smiling, really smiling. The kind of smile that reached her eyes and made her whole face light up. "Come inside," she said. "I want to show you what I've been making." She led him into the cabin, their cabin, with furniture they'd bought together and curtains she'd sewn, and a rocking chair Jacob had built by hand. She picked up the small bundle she'd been knitting. "It's a blanket," she said, "for the baby. I don't know if it's any good. I'm still learning, but I wanted them to have something I made, something that came from love instead of what they came from." Jacob took the blanket. It was uneven with dropped stitches and holes, but it was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. "It's perfect," he said. "You're just saying that." "I'm not. It's perfect because you made it, because you're already loving this baby before it's even born. That's what makes you a good mother." Eliza pressed her face against his shoulder. "I'm scared I'll be bad at this, that I won't know what to do, that I'll fail them somehow." You won't. And even if you do sometimes, because everyone fails sometimes, I'll be right there to help you figure it out. That's what partners do. Partners, Eliza repeated. She looked up at him. Is that still what we are, or are we something more now? Jacob thought about that, about the way his heart jumped when she smiled, about how the cabin felt empty when she wasn't in it, about the way he thought about her constantly, her safety, her happiness, her future. We're something more, he said. If you want to be, I want to be, then we are. That night, for the first time since they'd married, Eliza didn't sleep in a separate bed. She climbed into their bed, the big one Jacob had built in the main room, and curled against his side. Her belly pressed against him. The baby kicked a strong thump against his ribs. They're active tonight, Eliza murmured. Strong, that's good. Jacob, yeah, thank you for choosing us, for loving us, for everything. Jacob kissed the top of her head. Thank you for letting me. They fell asleep like that, tangled together, the baby moving between them, Buck snoring on the floor, the fire crackling in the hearth. A family, not the family Jacob had planned, not the family Eliza had dreamed of, but a family nonetheless. Real, chosen, theirs. And for the first time since Sarah's death, Jacob Miller believed in forever again. Winter came hard that year. The first snow fell in late November, blanketing the prairie in white silence. Jacob woke to find Eliza standing at the window, one hand on her belly, watching the flakes fall. You should be sleeping, he said. Couldn't. The baby's been kicking all night. She turned to face him. I think they know something's coming. Coming like what? Like it's almost time. I can feel it. My body's changing, getting ready. Jacob's stomach clenched. How long do we have? A month, maybe less. He got out of bed, crossed to her, put his hand over hers on her belly. The baby kicked hard against his palm. Strong, he said. Stubborn, like their father. Jacob smiled despite his fear. I'm not their father, not by blood. Blood doesn't make a father. Choice does. You chose them. That makes you their father in every way that matters. Jacob pulled her close, felt the swell of her belly between them. I'm scared. Me too. What if something goes wrong? What if the baby? Then we deal with it, together, like we deal with everything else. Eliza tilted her head up. I'm not Sarah Jacob. I'm not going to leave you like she did. You can't promise that. No, but I can promise I'll fight like hell to stay, for you, for our baby, for this life we're building. Jacob kissed her forehead. That's all I can ask. They spent the day preparing. Jacob rode to town and brought back the midwife, a capable woman named Mrs. Chen, who'd delivered half the babies in the territory. She was Sarah's mother, which made things complicated, but she was the best there was. Mrs. Chen examined Eliza with gentle hands and knowing eyes. First baby. Yes, ma'am. You're healthy, strong, baby's positioned well. You'll do fine. She looked at Jacob. You'll need clean linens, hot water, whiskey for pain. And you'll need to stay calm. Women can sense fear, makes labor harder. I can stay calm. Mrs. Chen raised an eyebrow. Can you? Because when Sarah was laboring, you nearly passed out just watching. That was different. How? Because Sarah was dying. Eliza's not. Mrs. Chen's expression softened. No, she's not. This baby's healthy. Eliza's healthy. Everything looks good. But labor's hard work. Painful. Scary. Your job is to be her strength when hers runs out. Can you do that? Yes. Good. I'll come back in a few weeks. Send for me when her pains start. Don't wait too long. After Mrs. Chen left, Eliza was quiet. Jacob found her in the kitchen washing dishes that didn't need washing. What's wrong? He asked. Nothing. Eliza. She set down the plate, gripped the edge of the basin. She was Sarah's mother, your wife's mother, and now she's going to deliver another woman's baby in the house you built for Sarah. This house wasn't built for Sarah. Sarah never saw this house. I built it for you, for us. But she's been dead 3 years. And I loved her. I'll always love her. But she's gone, and you're here, and I love you too. Different, but just as real. Jacob turned her to face him. Mrs. Chen knows that. She approved of our marriage. Told me at the ceremony that Sarah would have been happy I found someone. She said that she did. Said Sarah always worried I'd die alone after she was gone, that I'd close myself off and waste the rest of my life grieving. He cupped Eliza's face. She was right to worry. That's exactly what I was doing, until I found you. Eliza's eyes filled with tears. Again. She cried so easily now. I don't want to replace her in your heart. You're not replacing her. You're making room for something new. Hearts don't have limits. They just grow bigger. That how it works? That's how I'm choosing to believe it works. Eliza leaned against him. I love you, Jacob Miller. I love you too, Eliza Miller. They stood there in the kitchen holding each other while snow fell outside and the baby kicked between them and the fire crackled in the hearth. 2 weeks later, Eliza's pain started. Jacob woke to find her sitting on the edge of the bed, breathing hard. Is it time? He asked. I think so. The pain started an hour ago. They're getting closer together. Jacob was up and moving before she finished speaking, grabbed his coat. I'll get Mrs. Chen. Jacob, wait. What? Don't leave me alone. Please send someone else. Jacob hesitated. Then he ran to the barn, saddled his fastest horse, rode to the nearest neighbor, a homesteader named Williams, and pounded on his door until Williams appeared bleary and confused. My wife's in labor. I need you to get Mrs. Chen. Bring her to my ranch fast as you can. Williams was on his horse 5 minutes later, riding hard toward town. Jacob galloped back home, found Eliza pacing the cabin, one hand on her lower back, breathing through another contraction. How bad? He asked. Bad, getting worse. What can I do? Just stay with me, don't leave. I won't, I promise. He helped her walk, rubbed her back when the pains came, timed the contractions like Mrs. Chen had taught him. They were coming every 10 minutes now, then every 8, then every 5. Where was Mrs. Chen? An hour passed. 2. Eliza's pains were coming faster now, harder. She cried out during contractions, gripping Jacob's hand so tight his bones hurt. Something's wrong, she gasped. Why isn't she here? She'll be here. Williams is fast. He'll get her. What if he doesn't? What if the baby comes before? Then I'll deliver it myself. Jacob, you don't know how. I delivered a baby once, during the war. Field surgeon was dead, woman went into labor in a supply tent. I did what needed doing. Baby lived, mother lived. He didn't mention the 3 other times when neither lived. I can do this if I have to. Another contraction hit. Eliza screamed. Jacob held her through it, whispering things he didn't remember later. When it passed, she looked at him with fear-glazed eyes. I'm scared. I know, me too. What if I die like Sarah? You're not going to die. Well, you don't know that. Yes, I do, because you're strong and you're a fighter and you're not going anywhere. You promised me. Remember? Eliza nodded, breathed. I promised. Finally, after 3 hours, hoofbeats outside, Mrs. Chen burst through the door, medical bag in hand, snow coating her shoulders. How far apart? She asked, already moving toward Eliza. 3 minutes, maybe less. Good. Everything's progressing normally. She examined Eliza quickly. You're close. Another hour, maybe 2. Jacob, I need hot water and clean linens. Now. Jacob moved, heated water, gathered linens, tried not to think about Sarah, about how she'd labored for 18 hours before the fever took her, about the way she'd looked at him at the end, confused and frightened. Jacob, Mrs. Chen's voice cut through his thoughts. Stop thinking about my daughter. Eliza needs you present, not lost in the past. He snapped back to the moment. Yes, ma'am. The next 2 hours were the longest of Jacob's life. Eliza's pain intensified. She screamed during contractions, sobbed between them, begged for it to stop. I can't do this, she gasped. I can't. It hurts. I can't. Yes, you can, Jacob said. He was behind her, supporting her weight, his arms around her. "You're the strongest person I know. You survived things that would have killed most people. You can survive this." "I'm not strong. I'm weak. You killed a man to protect me. You rebuilt yourself from nothing. You're carrying a child you didn't ask for and choosing to love it anyway. That's not weak. That's stronger than anything I've ever seen." Mrs. Chen looked up from between Eliza's legs. "I can see the head. Next contraction you push, hard as you can." "I can't." "You can, and you will. On 3. 1, 2, 3, push." Eliza pushed, screamed, bore down with everything she had. "Good," again, push, again and again and again, then suddenly a different sound. A baby's cry, thin and reedy but unmistakably alive. "It's a girl," Mrs. Chen said. She held up a tiny, bloody, squirming thing, a healthy baby girl. Eliza collapsed back against Jacob, sobbing. Is she okay?" "She's perfect." Mrs. Chen cleaned the baby quickly, wrapped her in a blanket, placed her in Eliza's arms. "Perfect." Jacob looked at the baby, really looked. She had dark hair, dark like Cutter probably had, but her eyes, when they opened briefly, were gray-blue, and her nose was small and delicate, and she had tiny fingers that wrapped around Eliza's thumb with surprising strength. She was beautiful. "What should we name her?" Eliza whispered. Jacob thought about that, about Sarah, about the life he'd lost and the life he'd found, about redemption and second chances and choosing love over pain. "Hope," he said. "We should name her Hope." Eliza looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "Hope, I like that. Hope Sarah Miller," Mrs. Chen added quietly. "For my daughter, if that's all right with you both." Jacob's throat tightened. "Yeah, that's all right." "Hope Sarah Miller," Eliza repeated. She looked down at the baby. "Welcome to the world, little one. You're safe now. We're going to make sure of that." Mrs. Chen finished cleaning up, checked Eliza, declared everything healthy. "She'll need to rest, lots of rest, and you'll need to help with the baby. Newborns don't sleep much." "I can do that," Jacob said. "Good. I'll come back tomorrow to check on them both." Mrs. Chen packed her bag, paused at the door. "Jacob." "Yes, ma'am." "You did good, both of you. My daughter would be proud." Then she was gone, leaving them alone with their new family. That night, Jacob held his daughter for the first time, really held her, not just looked at her in Eliza's arms. She was so small, so fragile. He could feel every bone, every breath. "I've got you, Hopper," he whispered. "I'm your daddy, and I'm going to protect you, always. Nothing's ever going to hurt you, I promise." Hope yawned, tiny mouth opening wide. Then she settled against his chest and fell asleep. Eliza watched them from the bed, exhausted but smiling. "You're a natural." "I'm terrified." "Me too, but we'll figure it out. Together. The next few weeks were chaos. Hope cried constantly, fed constantly, needed changing constantly. Jacob and Eliza took turns sleeping, taking turns walking the floor with her, taking turns being the one who kept it together when the other fell apart. But slowly they found their rhythm. Eliza fed her, Jacob rocked her, they sang to her, talked to her, told her stories about the ranch, about the horses, about the world she'd grow up in. And gradually, Hope started changing. Her eyes stayed gray-blue, her hair lightened to brown, her features became more defined. One day, Mrs. Chen came to check on them. She examined Hope carefully. Then she looked up at Jacob with surprise. "She looks like you," she said. "What? The baby? She's got your nose, your chin, the shape of your eyes." Mrs. Chen studied Hope closely. "I've delivered enough babies to know. This child looks like she's yours." Jacob's breath caught. "How is that possible? Sometimes babies take after people who aren't blood relatives. Sometimes it's coincidence, or maybe—" Mrs. Chen smiled. "Maybe it's meant to be. Maybe she was always supposed to be yours." After she left, Jacob stood holding Hope, staring at her face, seeing himself reflected in her features, seeing proof that choice could be stronger than blood. "What do you think?" he asked Eliza. "Do you see it?" Eliza studied their daughter. "I see it. She's got your stubborn chin, and when she cries, she gets this little wrinkle between her eyebrows, just like you do." "I don't have a wrinkle." "You do, right there." She touched the spot between his eyebrows. "You get it when you're worried or concentrating, and Hope does the same thing." Jacob looked down at Hope, at his daughter, his, not by blood, but by every other measure that mattered. "We did it," he said softly. "We built a family. We did. Are you happy?" Eliza crossed to him, wrapped her arms around both of them. "I'm happier than I ever thought I'd be, happier than I deserve. You deserve all of it, every bit of happiness in the world. So do you." They stood there, the three of them, while the fire burned low and the wind howled outside and snow piled against the windows. 6 months passed. Hope grew stronger, started smiling, started making sounds that almost resembled words, started reaching for things, grabbing onto Jacob's finger with that fierce grip babies have. The ranch prospered. Jacob hired more help, bought cattle, expanded the barn, built a chicken coop, planted crops for the next spring. Eliza regained her strength, helped with the work when Hope napped, cooked, cleaned, laughed, really laughed, the kind of laughter that came from deep inside, from joy instead of just relief. The town slowly accepted them. Some people still whispered, still counted months on their fingers and gave knowing looks, but most people just saw a family, a rancher and his wife and their baby daughter. Nothing scandalous, nothing remarkable, just normal. One Sunday they went to church. Hope was 6 months old, dressed in a tiny white dress Eliza had sewn. She gurgled happily during the sermon, drawing smiles from the congregation. After the service, Reverend Matthews approached them. "She's beautiful. Looks just like her father." "Thank you," Jacob said. "I heard about the reward money, about what happened with Devil's Creek." Matthews lowered his voice. "That took courage, both of you, facing down evil like that, protecting each other. We did what we had to do. That's what courage is, doing what must be done even when you're terrified." Matthews smiled at Hope. "She's lucky to have you both. Not every child gets parents willing to fight for them like that." "We're the lucky ones," Eliza said quietly. "She gave us a reason to keep fighting, to build something better." Matthews nodded. "That's what children do. They give us hope for tomorrow. They remind us why we endure the pain of today." After church, they walked through town, stopped at the general store. Patterson greeted them warmly, no trace of the suspicion from months ago. "How's the little one?" he asked. "Growing like a weed," Jacob said. "That's good. Strong children are blessings in this territory." Patterson leaned closer, "And I wanted to apologize for the things my wife said earlier. About Mrs. Miller. It was unkind. We were wrong." "Water under the bridge," Jacob said, though part of him still remembered, still carried the anger. Eliza touched his arm. "Let it go." Her touch said, "So he did." They bought supplies and rode home. Hope fell asleep in Eliza's arms, tiny face, peaceful. "Do you remember what you said to me?" Eliza asked. "That first day in the barn, when I asked why you were helping me. I said a lot of things that day. You said everyone deserves a second chance. That broken things get fixed instead of thrown away." She looked at him. "You gave me that second chance. You fixed me when I thought I was too broken to fix. You fixed yourself. I just gave you a safe place to do it." "No, you did more than that. You saw me, really saw me. Not what happened to me, but who I was underneath all the pain. You saw me and decided I was worth saving, worth loving, worth building a life with." Her voice thickened. "You gave me everything, Jacob. Hope, home, a future, yourself. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of that." "You already are worthy. You were always worthy. You just needed someone to show you." They rode in silence for a while. Then Jacob spoke again. "Do you ever think about them, about Cutter and the others?" "Sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep. I think about what they did, what they tried to make me believe about myself. She paused. But then I look at Hope, at you, at this life we've built, and I realize they didn't win. They tried to destroy me, and instead they led me to you, to this. So in a way, they gave me everything by trying to take everything away. That's a generous way to look at it. It's the only way I can look at it without going crazy. If I let them haunt me forever, they still win. But if I choose to see this as my victory, surviving them, killing the one who hurt me worst, building a family from the ashes, then I win. We win. Jacob reached over and took her hand. We did win. We're winning every day. Every morning we wake up together. Every time Hope laughs. Every meal we share. That's winning. Yeah, Eliza said softly. It is. That night, after Hope was asleep in her cradle, Jacob and Eliza lay in bed together. Eliza curled against his side, her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Jacob, do you think we'll have more children? Someday. Jacob thought about that. About the fear of childbirth. About losing Eliza the way he'd lost Sarah. About the risk. But also about Hope. About the joy she'd brought. About how empty the cabin would feel with just one child growing up alone. Do you want more? He asked. I think so. Not now, maybe not for a few years, but someday, yes. I'd like Hope to have brothers or sisters. I'd like to give you children that are ours from the beginning. Hope is ours from the beginning. I was there when she was born. That counts. I know, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I do. Jacob kissed the top of her head. And yes, someday, when you're ready, when we're both ready, we'll have more children. We'll fill this house with noise and chaos and love. That sounds perfect. Yeah, it does. Eliza fell asleep shortly after, but Jacob lay awake thinking about the future, about Hope growing up, about other children joining her, about watching them all run through the prairie grass and learn to ride and help with the ranch, about building something that lasted, something that mattered, something that proved pain could be transformed into purpose. He thought about the girl in the cemetery, the one who'd believed she was too broken to save, who'd carved words into her own skin or had them carved for her, declaring her property of evil men. That girl was gone, dead and buried with Cutter and his gang. In her place was Eliza Miller, wife, mother, survivor, fighter, partner, his equal in every way that mattered. Jacob closed his eyes and let himself believe in tomorrow, in all the tomorrows stretching ahead, in the life they were building one day at a time, a life built on choice, on courage, on the stubborn refusal to let cruelty have the final word. A life that proved redemption wasn't just possible, it was happening right here, right now, in this cabin on the edge of nowhere. And in the cradle beside the bed, Hope Sarah Miller slept peacefully, surrounded by love she'd never have to earn, protected by parents who'd both stared into darkness and chosen to walk toward the light. Instead, the past couldn't be changed. The scars wouldn't disappear. The memories would always linger, but they'd built something stronger than pain, something more powerful than fear, something that would outlast every hurt and every wound. They'd built a family, and that was everything. Jacob Miller had found a dying girl among the graves and decided she was worth saving. That single choice, that moment of compassion in a world built on cruelty, had changed both their lives forever. And now, holding his wife while his daughter slept nearby, Jacob understood the truth he'd been searching for since Sarah's death. Love wasn't about replacing what you'd lost. It was about finding the courage to open your heart again, despite knowing it could break. It was about choosing connection over isolation, hope over despair, tomorrow over yesterday. It was about looking at someone the world had thrown away and saying, "You're worth fighting for." Eliza had been worth fighting for. Hope was worth fighting for. This life they were building together, messy and imperfect and beautiful, was worth every risk, every fear, every moment of doubt. Because in the end, Jacob Miller had learned the most important lesson the frontier could teach: survival wasn't just about staying alive. It was about finding something worth living for. And he'd found his reason in a cemetery, broken and bleeding, whispering that she wasn't clean anymore. He'd looked at her and seen the truth. She was the cleanest thing in a dirty world, because she'd survived it without letting it poison her soul. She was his second chance, his redemption, his proof that mercy was stronger than cruelty. She was his wife, the mother of his child, his partner, his equal, his love. And together they'd proved that even in the hardest land, even after the worst darkness, even when all hope seemed lost, love could still win.